welcome into the Week 11 recap part 2. We're going over the last 6 games of the Sunday slate. Dad, we have a big game tonight, Super Bowl rematch of last year, Chiefs, Eagles. Who do you think is going to win this game?
Kansas City.
Yeah. It's in Kansas City? Or it's
Chiefs,
in
Eagles. I think it's in Philly. No, in Kansas City.
Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully it's a good game. I know a lot of times we get disappointed sometimes, like we hype these games up to be amazing and then they're kind of like, but hopefully it's a good game. I'll go Philly. I think Philly wins it, but we'll see. We will see. I'm curious to see just the Chiefs offense. It feels like they really need another weapon in the passing game to really step up, and their offense is kind of, it's weird to say because Mahomes is probably still top 10 offense. Mahomes is probably still putting up great numbers, but does seem a little off this year. But anyways, we're going to get into it. Going over the 6 games. We went over the first 6. We're going over the next 6, starting with the Chargers at the Packers. Chargers are going to charger. They did their chargering, lost this game, which they should have won. Dropped passes. Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown. Quentin Johnston dropped potential touchdown, would have definitely set them up in field goal range to tie the game, but at the end of the game there, and they lost. Not because of Justin Herbert, who threw for 260 and 2, ran for 73. I think he's one of the top scoring quarterbacks this week, and he played very well. Austin Eckler also fumbled in the goal line red zone within the 5. I think it was at like the 6-yard line, but he didn't have a great game. Only 2 catches, which just seems strange. Keenan Allen was awesome. 10 for 116 besides that drop. 10 for 116 and a touchdown. Are you just cutting Quentin Johnston at this point from redraft, Dad?
Oh, absolutely. He's 6 targets and 2 catches. That's been his MO since he's taken over, and he missed, like you said, he should have caught a 30 or 40-yard pass at the end of the game that would have tied the game. I mean, they would have put him in potential, tying field goal, as you said, and, it's like, it's disgusting, Coach is melting down in a press conference, so he's feeling the pressure. He's going to get dumped at the end of the season. Defensive coach and the defense looks like crap. So, and it has since he's been there. But anyway, that's about it for the Chargers.
Yeah, they were without, obviously Josh Palmer. Jalen Guyton didn't play in this game. Gerald Everett was out. So just another situation of they're kind of losing all their pass catchers, but 16 targets to Keenan Allen is what you want to see if you have him. And both those guys and Eckler are still going to be obvious must starts rest of the year, and especially Herbert, if they have a bad defense. Herbert, Eckler, Allen, must starts, and especially with the bad defense, like they're going to be in shootouts. Or games where they're going to be trailing. Packers, Jordan Love looked pretty good. 322. He's still not completing. His completion percentage is still down a lot, 27 out of 40, but 322, 2 touchdowns. The problem is we don't know what to do with these receivers. You had Romeo Doubs, 5 for 53 and a touchdown. You had Jaden Reed, 4 for 46, and then he had a 32-yard touchdown run. Christian Watson, 2 for 21 and a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks, 3 for 91. So a lot of guys, it looks like no one had more than 6 targets, and 4 guys had 5 or more.
And Aaron Jones might have gotten hurt.
Yeah, we don't know. It sounded like it wasn't as serious as it looked, but we still don't know what the severity of that is. If he's out, I don't like it, but you can start A.J. Dillon. He's just going to, through volume, he's going to get something. And if he scores a touchdown, you're happy. What receiver are you interested in? Because I'm interested in Jaden Reed the most.
I think so. Watson, not cutting it. Dobbs, we expected more. Jaden Reed obviously seems to one who makes some plays once in a while, is the best way to explain it, I guess. So
yeah,
Watson, one target,
Christian Watson had four targets.
All right, I'm reading it wrong. Oh, I was reading his rushing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not happening with Christian Watson. It's just not this year. Jaden Reed, last 5 games, 9.5 PPR, 9.6, 10.3, 5.5, 16.9, and then this week, he's going to give you about 6.5 in the receiving. The touchdown puts it up to 12.5, and then 46 yards. So he's going to give you probably like 17 points. So 3 carries is good to see if they're going to use him that way. Yeah, he's the guy I want. And then probably Romeo Doubs I'll still throw out there. Like, the big thing with him is he's catching touchdowns. And normally, you don't want to bank on guys that are kind of just producing with touchdowns. But at some point, you got to say, well, they keep scoring. Like Cortland Sutton's one of those, like, well, he keeps scoring. So Romeo Doubs has 4, 5, 7 touchdowns this year. So he's on pace for double digits, and he's going to potentially keep catching them. So, we'll see about the Aaron Jones news. That's the big one there. But tough to rely on any of these receivers if they're not one of them's going to get more than 6 targets or whatever. So, but we'll move on from that game and get into the Giants at the Commanders. The Giants fans are upset because they won a game, and they dropped to the 5th overall pick in the draft. They probably want to tank, but Dad, Tommy DeVito, is he the real deal, or is it just?
Nah, I mean, we don't know that yet. Now they got some film on the guy, so we'll see. I mean, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's very nice. We'll see. You got to do it the rest of the year, Tommy.
Yeah.
So it can't be. Yeah, it can't be this game by game thing, which is nice, and Saquon had an okay game. I'm sure the New York Giant wide receivers were happy.
Yeah, it's just nice to see with DeVito where they had the one game where he had negative passing yards when he took over against the Jets, and it's nice to see like he's capable of more. He has 5 touchdowns over the last 2 games. He can run the ball as he showed last week. He had 7 for 41. Didn't really run this game. Didn't need to. So, if he's going to run the ball or Commanders are bad. Their defense is absolutely garbage. They got rid of their 2 maybe best defensive players, and they were already bad before that. So, Saquon Barkley, like you said, over 140 total yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a good example of, I saw a lot of people like, do I start Barkley with DeVito? It's a good example of sometimes we overthink it and you just start your studs. You drafted Barkley in the first round. Guy's a stud, and he's going to do this every now and then, and it's going to pay off. So always start your studs if you can. Yes, Darius Slayton, I think he got hurt in this game, but 4 for 82 and a touchdown. It's basically still just Barkley for me on this team. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not going with Bellinger or Wandale or Darius Slayton, Jalen Guyton. Sorry. No, it's not happening.
Yeah, DeVito, what was it? 9 sacks. I know you talked about that yesterday. I think it was 5 in the first quarter, which tied a record or something. So on the other side, speaking of sacks, only 4 for Howell, which is kind of a low game for him, but 3 interceptions and some bad interceptions. I think he also had a fumble, if I remember correctly. No, he did not, but they lost 3 fumbles. They had 4 total fumbles, lost 3. Man, I still don't know what I think about Howell. Like, obviously he's leading the league in passing yards and attempts and all that stuff, and but it just feels like it's not as good as what how he's performing on the field.
Well,
I don't know.
if the let's just put it this way: if the Commanders are in a position to draft one of the top quarterbacks next April, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So
that's
sorry,
the
Sam
reality.
Howell.
Yeah. It's the reality of a 5th round draft pick. Like if it was a 1st round draft pick, as we saw with Fields last year, where the Bears were in position to draft a quarterback, but they just invested in Fields, a 1st round pick, and so they didn't. Right? If it's the same situation, but you have a 5th round pick, like you said, right now they have pick number 7. A lot of quarterbacks in this draft, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, for fantasy, he's still going to be good this year. So if you're worried about for fantasy, I wouldn't. He still put up 2 total touchdowns, 35 yards on the ground, 260 passing. So, and then the receivers, it seems to be Brian Robinson. Antonio Gibson was out this game. He might miss the rest of the year with a toe injury, but Brian Robinson has been really good this year. 130 total yards, 7 more catches. I think he has over almost 200 yards receiving over the last 2 games, which is insane.
He's going to be 1,000 yard. He's going to have some big numbers at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, and you just keep rolling it. Like, it's not sexy. He's going to be a top 15 running back easily this year. And I think he's just going to continue that way. So, he's not going to be RB1 ever during the week, but like you said, he's on pace right now. Close to, I think it's just under 1,000 yards rushing, actually.
Wow.
862, which I thought it would be more. But he's also on pace to get a decent amount of receiving work. So, looks like he's on pace to get about almost 500 yards receiving. So that's almost 1,300 total yards. He has 8 touchdowns on the year. So, yeah, keep on starting him. And still starting McLaurin. Logan Thomas if he's your tight end, I'm starting him. You kind of going away from Dotson if you can. He did catch a touchdown, but it's just he's not the focal point of this offense. So, we'll move on from that game and get into the Bucs and the 49ers. 49ers have been looking good last 2 weeks. We'll start with the Bucs, actually. Baker, one of his hopefully he didn't start him against the 49ers, but only 250-1. Doesn't kill you. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. That's about 16 points and 6 point per passing touchdown. So did have an interception. Rashad White, again, he's another one of those, like, 9 for 30 and a touchdown, 6 for 28 in the receiving game. Like, you're continuing to start him. He's going to be a top 15 guy because of the work. Mike Evans, you're starting because he can catch a touchdown. Chris Godwin, Dad. Are we again, no buys this week.
Yeah, I thought he disappeared. Yesterday we were kind of half-ass watching that game or something, red zone, and it's like, where's Godwin at? It's like, what a shame, just didn't seem to be. But
we say what a shame, and the dude's going to be potentially 1,000-yard guy. He's on pace for like 970 this year.
Wow, jeez.
But it's just a case of like, he's on pace for 85 catches and almost 1,000 yards. So it's a good example of like Deontay Johnson was like this last year. I think he had like 900 yards, but no touchdowns. Godwin has 1 this year. And so if you're not catching 8 passes a game or you're not scoring touchdowns every other game, it doesn't really mean that much. So, I'm benching him this week because, again, no bye weeks. You should be able to get away from him. And then what about Cade Otton? Interest there? I mean, 5 more targets, 4 for 49. As maybe not this week because there's no buys, but if you have a tight end on a bye, potentially he's a streamer. Cade Otton.
Yeah, he's kind of looked okay. He's in that tight end group. What do we talk about? 5 for 50, 5 for 60, numbers.
The occasional touchdown.
Yeah, and the occasional touchdown. So he's definitely in that, middle of the road tight end category, or you shouldn't ignore him. Let's just put it that way. If you need a tight end, but
yeah, exactly. You shouldn't ignore it if you're desperate. So, and continue to start Rachaad White and Evans are the clear starts on this team, and then I think Baker is matchup based. If he has a good matchup, like next week, he has the Colts. The week after that, the Panthers. I'm potentially going to be starting him those 2 weeks. I have for example, I have Geno Smith. That's my other quarterback in one of my leagues. Geno gets the 49ers this week, and then the Cowboys. I'm not starting Geno either one of those games. I'm starting Baker. So that's where we're at with Baker. Mayfield, the 49ers are the 49ers. Brock Purdy is a really good start if you have him. 3 touchdowns, 333 yards. McCaffrey is RB1 every week. Brandon Ayuk had an awesome. I think he held the longest touchdown play of the season for maybe an hour or two before someone else busted off a big one. But he had a 76-yard touchdown, 5 for 156. What's nice about this is only 4 guys on the 49ers caught passes. It was Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, the 4 main guys. Are we worried about when all 4 of them are going, though? It used to be Kittle was the guy that would suffer the most, but now it hasn't been. Kittle's been awesome. 8 for 89, a touchdown. Is it now Debo's the guy? Like, how do you look at Debo? Like a wide receiver 3 who has the potential to go off type of player? He's hard to bench, right? Like, because you know what he's capable of.
Yeah, you can't. All 4 of those guys, they all need to play. I'm sorry, in your league, and Ayuk, we were talking about him yesterday. He's a free agent at the end of the year. 49ers. The guy's kind of flourished the last couple of years, so 49ers would be dumb to let him go. But, there's only so much money in the bank. So, but the rest of these guys, Kittle, Debo, CMC, you got to play him.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. Kittle for sure. The guy's been on an absolute tear over the last 4 games. He's had 200-plus yard games. He's got a touchdown in back-to-back weeks, so he's been awesome. And I agree with you, Debo. Brock Purdy only threw the ball 25 times. This game was kind of weird. Like, it looked close-ish, but this game was like 27-14 almost the whole second half, I think. So didn't throw much. If he throws 35 times and Debo gets maybe another carry or 2, you're probably looking at a better game. So they're easy. You're starting them all. I agree with you there. We got 3 more games for you. Jets at Bills is the next one. Jets just announced they are benching Zach Wilson for Tim Boyle. I don't even know if that's better or not, but I guess it can't be worse, right? They haven't scored a touchdown in, I think, over 40 drives, which is the record for this year.
That's ridiculous. That guy, yeah.
I have a solution to their offensive woes. You play Wildcat with Breece Hall, and then you have Dalvin Cook and Israel Abanikanda, and you run the wishbone triple option offense with Breece Hall at the helm. What do you think about that?
Sure. You might as well try something. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach Wilson, 7 for 15, 81 yards. Oh, he did throw a touchdown. Okay, so they did score a touchdown in this game. They just missed the extra point. Tim Boyle, hey, they're starting him. 7 for 14, 33 yards, and an interception. So, that's what you have to look forward to. Man, it's crazy. Breece Hall is suffering from it. 10 carries. They hone in on him. 10 carries for 23 yards. He did have 5 for 50 and a touchdown, which is good. But I think Garrett Wilson had negative points in this game because he had a fumble. I'm still starting Breece Hall, but
and their left tackle hurt his ankle. So Mekhi Becton, who the guy's hurt every year. So I don't care if Rodgers does come back. Is it truly going to be much better?
I don't see the point of him coming back now.
Yeah.
Like, he played the Dolphins this week, probably going to lose. You know, like, I don't see the point of him coming back. But the Bills got things together. Josh Allen, 275, 3 touchdowns, 15 on the ground. James Cook had a pretty good game. They gave him 17 carries, which is good to see, 17 for 73. And then he had 3 for 29 and a touchdown. So hopefully they keep using him that way. I'm still starting Allen, Cook. I think Diggs got the Sauce Gardner treatment. The Jets have a legitimate defense, and they've shut down almost every quarterback that they played against. This is probably the best game for a quarterback, but Sauce Gardner probably shut down Diggs, and Shakir had a big. Oh, he was the one that broke the Ayuk longest touchdown. He had an 81-yard touchdown. I still think he's a solid potential start. Not that I think he's going to get an 80-yard touchdown, but he could get 4 or 5 catches, 60 yards, and the occasional touchdown. But I mean, there's not much to talk about with the Bills. You're starting Allen, Cook, and Diggs every week when you're not even thinking about it. And James Cook probably you're throwing in there too. They did have like a 3-man committee, Ty Johnson playing and stuff like that, but it was also a blowout, so you got to think about that. Dad, move on to the Seahawks Rams.
Sure. Yeah, pardon the noise. We're doing some work in my house, so.
Yep, no worries. Seahawks Rams. In this game, Rams pull it off. Geno got hurt. Stafford got hurt. Kenneth Walker got hurt. There's just a lot of injuries in this game. Cooper Kupp got hurt. I don't think Stafford missed any time, but Geno did miss a couple drives, did come back. 233 and a touchdown. I mean, he has San Francisco and Dallas each of the next 2 weeks. So if he's like your second quarterback and you need the spot, I don't even mind dropping Geno. Charbonnet kind of reminds me of like an A.J. Dillon type, but he had 70 total yards, 6 catches. Anything here, Dad? I mean, if they play Thursday, I believe. If Drew Lock's starting, are you avoiding all their pass catchers?
No, but I don't know which one. I have Lockett on a team where I can't afford to sit him down. So, I mean, it's that drastic. So, I mean, I don't know what everybody else's position. Geez, do you bench DK Metcalf?
No.
No, I think that would be dumb too. But after that, I don't know. JSN. I don't know. Yeah, if you got somebody else, Drew Lock will be okay. He's just
he's not Tim Boyle.
No, he's not. You're right. That's a good point. So, yeah. If you got Garrett Wilson, you're worried.
Yeah. I agree. Something I did notice in that game was when Locke came in, I feel like JSN he had 6 targets in the game. I feel like 3 or 4 of those came from Locke in the 2 drives. And you do see this a lot where backups come in and they target, JSN and Drew Lock probably practiced a lot together, second string guys. And so they have a connection in that way. So I'm not starting JSN most likely against the 49ers if Locke's the quarterback, but I am starting, Metcalf and Lockett. And Charbonnet, I think Kenneth Walker's going to miss this game. I think Geno's going to miss this game. I can throw Charbonnet in there, even though it's not a great matchup. So on the Rams side, we got to see about Cooper Kupp. Stafford just can't get to 2 touchdowns for whatever reason. He had it, and then the penalty called it back, and then they rushed it in. Royce Freeman, 17 carries to Darrell Henderson, 6. He might be the guy to target. He's run the ball better than Henderson all year long, but I think Kyron's back potentially. I don't know if he's going to play this week. If he's out, I wouldn't mind starting Royce Freeman. Puka 5 for 70 and a touchdown. He's a obvious must start with Cooper Kupp potentially out. I don't really see anything else here to honestly talk about. I mean, I guess I can really quick look at the Royce Freeman had 42 snaps to Henderson's 24. Unfortunately, Henderson got the touchdown, but anything on this game, Dad? Like, I mean,
no, it wasn't. I mean, it was a divisional game, so I mean, these guys know each other. The teams know each other pretty well, and nobody was lighting it up offensively. So the Rams won it in the end, So Seahawks are probably pissed because they lost a game they should have won. But
it's Puka's a start. I mean, you don't want to start Stafford because he just can't seem to get to the 2 touchdowns. And then Royce Freeman. What are you doing if Kyron Williams comes back? Do you think he comes back to basically everything, or is he going to split time with them?
Well, I think, if you come back, you're considered healthy and stuff like that. So I think he kind of made the running game go there. So I depending on your running back situation in your league, if you can afford to start him and take a chance when he comes back and see what happens.
Yeah, agreed. So we'll get to the last game, the Sunday night game, the Vikings at the Broncos. Vikings drop this game. Josh Dobbs was still good for fantasy, and I think he will continue to be. Threw for 220 and a touchdown, ran for 21 and a touchdown. So I think you're just going to get that type of production here. The running backs were actually both solid. I mean, Madison didn't get 18 for 81, but he didn't get a catch or a touchdown. He had 1 catch. So Ty Chandler was the better player, 10 for 73, 4 for 37. Are you continuing? Are you going to start Ty Chandler, Dad, knowing he's going to get that type of work? He did only play 23 snaps, but he touched the ball on 14 of those 23. So
absolutely, I'd give the guy. Yeah, he seems to have earned playing time and definitely fantasy consideration. And throw the guy in there.
Yeah, the one thing is he did get 31 yards rushing on the fake punt, which is obviously not going to be every week. They're not going to be running a fake punt, but I do think he's a pretty good player that you could potentially flex if they're going to give him, especially the receiving work. So Hawkinson, I was talking about, I think his over-under was 5.5 for the catches. That's easy money. He was actually limited. I forgot he had kind of that rib injury all week, and he was limited, 4 for 55. I'm not really worried about Hawkinson if he's healthy. Are we worried about Addison, though? Without Justin Jefferson?
He was matched up against a pretty good cornerback last night. So
Surtain.
Yeah, and it was Addison. It's always kind of bugged me that the guy is kind of light in the ass a little bit, so a little slight guy. So little physical cornerbacks, if they get close to him, they can kind of bully him around a little bit. So sometimes he can break that coverage and stuff like that. So, but I still got to roll with Addison as long as Jefferson's out. I'll keep playing Addison.
Yeah. The thing is, how much longer? We got, I think, 1 more week, and then they have a bye. So it's potential that Jefferson sits out, but they also want to win. So, if they won this game, they go to 7-4. They can afford to bench Jefferson 1 more week. I don't know if they can. They're in the 7th seed. So, Broncos 5-5 miraculously. They have one of the better defenses since that Miami meltdown. Like, it's just, football is weird. Like, they have, I think, the highest since like week 5 or something. They have the lowest points per game given up. The Broncos do, which again just doesn't doesn't make sense. But they're 5-5. They're right there in the playoff hunt. Amazingly, Russell Wilson 260 and a touchdown. Javonte didn't have a big game, but he's still getting majority of the work. 11 carries, and P. Ryan and McLaughlin only one. Cortland Sutton, is he going to keep this up? Dad, I think he has 9 touchdowns in 10 games.
Yeah,
is he gonna...
he's looking all right. I mean, the whole the passing game looked not great, but it looked okay. Judy didn't. I know he didn't have great numbers, but I mean, it looked all relevant. It looked good. The offense to me for Denver looks. How do I want to say it? Functional,
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it did last year, where it just was ridiculous. So,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
I agree. And at some point, generally, beginning of the year, first 4 weeks or so, you look at who's doing well, and it's like, okay, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, for example, last year was a good example of 70% of this guy's production fantasy-wise is coming off of touchdowns. And you generally want to trade those guys high, Like, I don't think he's going to continue to put up all these touchdowns because generally you don't get a lot of guys. I don't know the number exactly, but there's very few guys that get to double-digit touchdowns every year. But then we're at this point where we just finished week 11 and Cortland Sutton's still scoring touchdowns. So at some point you just be like, yeah, this is who he is, I think we looked at it, me and Brian yesterday, and 2 games of over 75 yards receiving or more this year, but he has 9 touchdowns, and that's all that really matters. And I honestly think it's going to continue. So he's a top 24 receiver. He's going to probably move up after this week with 4 for 66 and a touchdown. So no one else. It's Javonte and it's Sutton, and then Russell Wilson. You can probably start if you need a stream at a quarterback, but other than that, you're not starting Judy, none of the other running backs. So I think that's all we have, Dad. Any games in limbo from tonight's game? You got 2 fantasy relevant teams playing in the Chiefs and Eagles. So any games in limbo?
No, the 2 leagues I'm in with you, the 2 teams I'm in with leagues with you, I lost those games, unfortunately, and the league that I really don't care about, my orphan league, I shouldn't say I don't care about, but I seem to have the worst players. I keep on winning, so I'm gonna win one and lose 2, and the one matchup with you, I got second highest scoring behind you, but I looked at everybody else's scoring and I go, man, I would have kicked anybody's ass except for you.
Yep. You would. We'll see. You're probably going to be the second highest scorer. Potential to maybe not be. I don't know if someone goes off in tonight's game, but I think you are. Yeah. And that's why everyone should play against the league median. If your fantasy website allows it, play against the league median, because stuff like that, sucks. I think last week in a Yahoo league, I lost by less than half a point. I scored over 200 points, and I was the second highest scorer, and it wasn't even close, but I lost. So, it's play against the league median. It's a lot more fun, a lot more fair. So, yes. We'll be back with the preview. We got a little funky week where we have 4 games being played before Sunday, but no one's on a bye, so we'll be back with a pretty important preview. We've got 3 more weeks in the fantasy regular season. As always, like and subscribe, and we will finish up there.